Imagine this. I woke up 8 a.m. I didn't feel pain, but I felt funny. It was a Saturday. So I tried to go back to sleep. I'm about 38-ish weeks pregnant. My mother had just passed away the previous Saturday, so 7 days later. I wake all the way up at 8:30 because all of a sudden somebody feels like they're kicking me in my stomach, and they told me that I have been having Braxton Hicks. They told me the real contractions start off as a roll and they go from the bottom to the top of your stomach, and it feels like ripples. No. This from 8:30 until I had that baby felt like a truck, like a semi or a train, like ramming through my stomach. Like it was relentless from 8:30 on. So the intensity and pain continued to get worse very quickly. And I'm like, last time this happened when I was in the hospital and I kept telling that lady that the contractions were happening. Okay, it's 3 minutes apart. Okay, it's 2 minutes apart. She didn't believe me. So let me believe myself. So I start getting ready. I start packing my bag. Which, it should have been packed already. But as I stated, I had just lost my mom and I wanted to bury my mother, settle that, and then because I still had some time left. I was only 38. I still had 2 weeks left. I wanted to put my mother to rest, deal with that, then have this baby. And I was like, you know what? That's not going to change that my mother passed away, but we'll be able to have a joyous moment to latch on to and carry us on, right? No. Funeral was set for the Wednesday after that Saturday. So, 8:30. By 9, I'm trying to pack this bag. I am every about 15 minutes at this point. I started the hee-hee-hooing, needing to catch my breath and stop and brace myself at the house. Doctor's office is 20 to 30 minutes with no traffic. It was traffic. So we needed to go. We needed to literally leave at 8:30 for me to get the things that I needed, like drugs. But we didn't make it. Also, we left the house by 10. I'm getting in the car, and I'm so uncomfortable. I can barely have a seatbelt on. It's so much going on in the car. We have all things are working for my good on repeat because I'm like, it's too much. It's too much, right? My daughter is in the back. Can we turn that off? Can we? No, little girl, be quiet. Poor baby. She was only 2, and it just was so much. So I did a big back since birth. So I said, I don't know when I'm going to be able to eat because, labor and delivery could be a long process. Camille, sis, your contractions are 5 minutes apart right now, honey. You're not going to make it. Just go on to that hospital. But my big backness won over. I had that man stop at Corner Bakery because I'm bougie and I didn't want no fast food. I mean, whatever. He came out with no food. I was like, what? The line was too long. We're not going to make it. I'm glad he had wisdom because it felt like I was going to have that baby in that car. Y'all, we passed by Jack in the Box right before we turned into the hospital. I'm like, let's just stop there and give me like a little snack because I'm hungry and I don't want to be, While we're getting the food, I feel everything open up. Contractions are like 2 minutes apart. And I'm like, just had to stop for food. Anyway, I will always give this man props because at this point I was going to the hospital 2 to 3 times a week because I was having non-stress tests. I was high risk. They just wanted me in there all the time. And when we would go, there would be a valet, there would be volunteers to get a wheelchair for you if you needed it. There was none of that because they don't do that on Saturdays. So I don't know how this man parked the car, got our jogger, very extensive jogger stroller out for the lady, the 2-year-old girl, went and found a wheelchair from God knows where. He, with our huge, heavy stroller, pushed it with one hand, did the wheelchair with one hand. And when I say the road to labor and delivery, it's like a mile long, not exaggerating because it's back tucked. And then there's a ramp that is a 2 and 3 tier ramp. He was sweating, but he did that. I will always give him kudos for that. We made it up to the hospital thing. By this time, contractions are like literally one on top of the other. It's so painful that I can't sit down, but I can't stand up. So I'm standing up, and I'm like, ah! Then I'm sitting down. Then the contraction goes, ah! And the nurse is just looking at me like, because they see this all day. And they think you're exaggerating. I was like, when do you think that I'm going to have the baby? She didn't have no compassion. I wanted to slap her. I'm sorry, that's me. But I did. She didn't have any compassion. She was like, I don't know, sometime this afternoon. Okay. So, I'm thinking that I have time, right? Left the house around 10. Got to the hospital at 10:40. I'm in the bathroom and I'm like, oh my God, the pain is so bad that all I could do is scream at these contractions. But I'm trying to hold it in, so I'm like, Arr! Didn't do none of that with baby number 1. After baby number 1, I was like, I could do this again. It was hard, all natural. I'm like a superwoman. I could do this. Ma'am, sir. It was too much. So I get in the hospital bed. They try to do the IV. They can't do the IV. I'm like, I need drugs. They're like, okay, we're going to try to get it for you. My doctor comes in. 3 nurses try to give me an IV. Nobody can get it. My doctor gets the needle. Boop. Gets that IV in. And he's like, the baby is right here. He starts getting dressed. I'm like, what? The baby's right. What? That they tell me I cannot push because the doctor has to get cleaned up and put on his garb. I just start screaming at the top of my lungs at every contraction. I break down and say, I can't do this, I can't do this. And the nurse was like, a different nurse, a compassionate, wonderful nurse. I'll always remember her. Yes, you can. We see the baby right there. I was like, okay, well, if you can see him, can you just pull him out? And she was like, no. It's funny now, but I was serious. Ma'am, stop playing with me. Get this child if you can see him. That's not how this works, honey. So, I get myself together. And then in the nick of time, my sister walks in. And my daughter is like, Mommy, I see Gum Gum. That's what she called my mom. It was like maybe she felt my mom's presence or whatever. But, you know, kids are different than us. And she was still a baby at that time, only 2 years old. God, I was able to push that baby out. It hurt. Like, I can never imagine anything hurting. And I think it was because it was a very grief-stricken moment. But it was also beautiful. I know I wanted to wait until after the funeral to have the baby. But when they set that baby on my chest, so much joy came in. I will never forget the joy that came in when he was ushered into this world. I love that boy. And I'm excited that he gets to see another year. Though I'll always miss my mom, I can never, ever forget